What up, gang of Lane? Carolina Jackpot time coming at you. It is Saturday morning. It's about 8:30, and we are about 3.5 hours out from kickoff of Gamecocks versus Gamecocks, South Carolina versus Jacksonville State in Williams-Brice Stadium on ESPNU. We will be live streaming that game here today in its entirety on the Carolina Jackpot channel. Please stop by. Have a cold beverage with me. Well, we can virtually have a cold beverage together and watch some football, hang out. Hopefully this game is not one where I'm sitting on pins and freaking needles the entire time, throwing things, getting upset like I have much of this season. This should, in theory, for South Carolina, this should be an easy win. I know Jacksonville State is 7-2. Their schedule has been complete and utter hot dog water. The only decent team that they have played is Liberty, and they absolutely took them to the woodshed. They also got taken to the woodshed by Coastal Carolina. Well, I don't know if they got taken to the woodshed by them. They lost to Coastal Carolina, a Coastal team that's not really that good this year. They've been kind of up and down. Got a big win last week, but still better than Jacksonville State. But, I mean, for their first year in FBS, I mean, they're having an amazing year. Schedule will be down. I mean, that doesn't matter. They've done a really good job. And so don't think that I'm, like, throwing shots at the Jacksonville State program. In no way, shape, or form am I doing that. But, facts are facts. South Carolina has better talent. They're stronger on both lines of scrimmage, despite the fact that they've had multiple injuries on the offensive line side of the ball. They're just better. And this should not be a contest after halftime. But I have a funny feeling that it will be, because we always find a way, it seems like, to kind of underperform. That's our mantra. We just... I don't know what it is. But anyway, aside from that, talking about overperforming, let's talk about overperforming a little bit here. And this is really what I was wanting to talk about here today in this video, but I did have to address South Carolina versus Jacksonville State. After that, make sure you stay for the after party. Stay on for the after party, because I'm going to leave all devices up and connected, and I'm going to live stream the Mizzou-Georgia game after that one. Now, I know everybody in the world is going to be watching that, going to be live streaming it, but I have a vested interest in that, and I'm going to let you in on something, Georgia fans. I'm taking off the Gamecock garb, and I'm putting my Missouri hoodie on, because I hope they kick the damn shit out of you, because this is why. You've never really done anything to wrong me. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't like Georgia. I don't like Georgia when we play them. Other than that, I mean, you're fine with me. But it's time that someone else got a little taste of glory. And I think they can come in there and knock you off. Problem is, if they come in there and knock you off, that's all it is. It's just going to be an upset. I don't think they have the staying power to compete in a college football playoff. I just don't. I mean, I think Georgia is the better team, and normally the better team wins when two teams match up, but not always. And, I just like to see someone else get a little shot at, a nice, happy day every once in a while. So, I'm pulling for Mizzou today. I like the underdog story. But, hell, I don't know. I still think if you lose a close game to Mizzou, Georgia will probably still be in the college football playoff. So there's that. But I'm solidly in the Mizzou corner this afternoon. I hate to disappoint you. So let's talk for a little bit about college football playoffs and South Carolina in particular. And no, South Carolina isn't going to a college football playoff. Not this year, not next year, not the year after that, not anytime soon. But I was watching a video that came out, I guess it was late last evening. Sports Talk J, the Tennessee Vols YouTuber, put it out. Amazing content. You need to go check him out. His fucking channel's blown up. Guy, I think he's gotten like 2,000 subscribers in a week. I'm not lying to you, because I looked at his stuff. I'm like, man, he's up 9,000 subscribers. I looked today, it's up to like 12,000. I mean, damn, it's just growing like crazy. And that can happen when you start putting out some good content and it starts to like kind of snowball and kind of go viral, if you will. People really dig it, and they'll start clicking that bell so that they get to watch all your content. But anyway, I want to pick a couple of holes in some of the stuff he had to say, though. Once again, he has a video up about Michigan, the cheating scandal, Connor Stallions. Did he get fired yesterday evening? Did he quit? Did he get let go? Was it an amicable split? How is Ryan Day's family in Ohio State involved in all this? We don't know. And then there's the South Carolina conspiracy theory, which is like starting to turn into, maybe it's more than a conspiracy theory. Now, there are a few things here, and Sports Talk Jay put up a list of evidence, if you will, of points of reference here as to why it's basically all the circumstantial evidence that would point to why it was apparent that South Carolina was given signals by someone, maybe someone at Michigan, to help eliminate Tennessee from the college football playoff. First of all, Tennessee had already lost to Georgia. So I don't think that it was like they're going to be a shoe-in for the college football playoff. It was they have the potential to be a participant in the college football playoff. So, and then I'm going to talk about Clemson, too, here in just a minute. One of the talking points on his list was that South Carolina wore wristbands in that game for the first time all year, defensive players. Not true. I have went back, I've looked, I've freeze-framed it. I've found shots from the game against Georgia. I've also found shots from the games at Arkansas and actually a game at home against Georgia State where South Carolina defensive players did have on wristbands. That was turned this way, so I couldn't tell whether there was a card in it. I mean, one of the pictures against Georgia, it appears there's no card there. It may have fell out. We don't know. Georgia had a complex offense last year under Stetson Bennett. So South Carolina may have needed something there to kind of remind them, hey, these are the plays they might run. This is what formations to look for. Totally legal. Also, here we have on this particular list of things, South Carolina scored 16 points in the previous two games. All facts. Against Missouri, they were beaten 23-10. Against Florida, they were beaten 38-6. And actually, those are not all facts. They only scored 10 points the previous two games. They didn't score an offensive touch. They didn't score offensive points against Florida. So he actually gave us one there. That was on a fake punt. That's not considered special teams. That's not considered your offense scoring a touchdown. Even more sad. Here's the thing. Tennessee's defense was trash last year. Your secondary was awful. Awful. Everybody talked about it. Everybody talked about how taffy Tennessee's secondary was. So let's not act like this is, just some huge revelation here that someone was able to come up with a game plan to score some points against that secondary. Another one of the things here was Beamer was fined $25,000 for accepting information years ago. Yes, in 2014, I believe he accepted information from, when he was at Virginia Tech, from Wake Forest for a game plan, I think, against Louisville, if I'm not mistaken, because they called the scandal WikiLeaks. $25,000 fine. Shane Beamer paid it back, I guess, when he was assistant coach at Virginia Tech. For his dad, no less. So, okay, that's true. Those are facts. But then he goes on to say later on in the video that Now, it's probably not Shane Beamer directly who got this information or who even solicited the information. It probably came from an assistant somewhere and was conveyed to an assistant at South Carolina or an analyst or something like that. So how does Shane Beamer's $25,000 fine for participating in the WikiLeaks scandal have anything to do with this? If Shane Beamer was probably not the one who even got the information and even conveyed it to someone or knew about it. So that don't make no sense. Doesn't make any sense at all. Then he goes on to say, South Carolina's 2-6 this year. Okay, all right. Tennessee was 7-6 in 2021. They were 11-2 in 2022. Sir, two teams can be totally different on totally different trajectories from one year to the next. South Carolina has lost their best weapon on offense in Juice Wells. He's played exactly one meaningful series all year, which he scored a touchdown in, by the way. South Carolina has went through two offensive lines. They've lost their starting left tackle two different times. They lost their starting left tackle in the spring game, and then they lost the replacement starting left tackle on the first play from scrimmage against North Carolina. They've had injuries all over the board. They've lost, and I'm going to go on ahead and say it. Jaheim Bell, that was a big loss for South Carolina. That guy could do a number of different things. He had a shitty attitude when he was at South Carolina. I'm glad to see he went to Florida State. But guess what? Down at Florida State, his numbers haven't been... He hasn't had the numbers he had at South Carolina. And the Florida State man tells me, well, it's because he's not being forced to play 10 different positions. That's why. Because, but, I mean, are you really happier doing that, though? Are you really happier just being a bit player and not being the man? That make a lot of sense to me. Probably so. You're getting a big bag for it. Anyway, moving on from that, Jaheim Bell was a big loss. Losing Cam Smith, losing Darius Rush, those two corners, that was a big loss for South Carolina. And I had warned in the offseason that South Carolina was not going to be as good this year, and the record is probably not going to be as good as what it was last year, simply because of the fact of those two corners being out. Now, I didn't think that we would be 2-6 right now, but I'm not shocked, because when you're teetering on the edge of mediocrity and maybe, if the breaks go your way, you can do a little bit better. You can finish with a little bit better record maybe than what you actually are. And I think that's kind of what happened to South Carolina last year. The 8-4 record that they finished up with at the end of the year was not exactly an indicator of who they were. They were probably a 6-6 team. And this year, the rash of injuries has hurt a lot. Spencer Rattler not being able to be protected has hurt a lot. And that has contributed to that 2-6 deal. I mean, it's not that shocking that when you're teetering on the edge, that if a lot of things don't go your way, if you get a lot of bad breaks, that things can go left or things can go south in a hurry. And that's what's happened this year with South Carolina. So South Carolina being 2-6 this year and being whatever our record was last year and putting up 63 points against you, that has absolutely nothing to do with one another. It's two totally different teams, as I just laid out. The last thing I want to talk about, Hendon Hooker injury. The Tennessee fans that are blaming the Hendon Hooker injury on the possibility that South Carolina may have had Tennessee signals, you people are really, really reaching. And that's a fucking sad reach. That's a sad fucking reach. And I've heard that dumbass shitbag Zach Smith over on his damn podcast, or whatever the fuck, YouTube channel, podcast. I don't know what we want to call it right now. He's a live YouTube show. He started out as a podcast. Now it's a live YouTube show. Saying the same thing. If I was Hendon Hooker, I'd sue. Sue for what? What are you going to sue for? What are you going to sue for? And I'm not sitting here saying anything about the injury being something positive, okay? It's unfortunate that he got hurt. That sucks. People get hurt in football, though. It happens all the time. We're not blaming some other team. That he didn't even get hit. He didn't even take a lick when he got hurt. That was a non-contact injury. I've dropped by. I'm going to link that play down in the description box below. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying, hey, watch this play right here. This is where he got hurt. I'm putting it down there as a point of reference so that anybody who doesn't have the internet or doesn't do research on anything can see this was a non-contact injury. He drops like he's going to pitch the ball out, and he just goes down. Nobody touched him. So us knowing his signals or whatever has one to do with the other. I'm sorry. It's got me so damn frustrated and upset that it's really starting to piss me off a little bit. So I just decided to go off on it a little bit this morning. So circumstantial evidence, you've got some good points there, folks. Some of them are not real good points, and they really just don't make a whole lot of sense, and you're kind of double talking yourselves in the process. And I'm by no way am I throwing shots here at Sports Talk Jay. I'm just kind of bantering back and forth and giving kind of a debate here, if you will, and my holes that I see that can be poked in some of the theories and lists that he has up there. It's just, I'm not, if something does come out, Michigan's going to get punished one way or the other. I don't really think that anything's going to come of this South Carolina deal. I mean, there's just too much circumstantial BS here, and a lot of BS that can it be proven? I don't know. If it can be proven and South Carolina cheated, and if it turns out that Shane Beamer did know about this and he got some information that he shouldn't have had, and he shared it with his defensive coaches and they devised up this grand scheme to take down the Vols, then so be it. I mean, throw the book at him and give him what punishment that he deserves, because that's bullshit. You know, I'm not all about cheating. Okay, I am not all about cheating, and I'll be very, very, very disappointed to find out if that is true. But I don't think it is. And then I wanted to touch on the Clemson game real quick too. I also threw that in there that they beat Clemson the next week too. Okay, was it on the wristband? Was it in the cards against Clemson? Which I didn't even look at that one. Did we have wristbands on against Clemson? I don't know. Was it in the wristbands to be down 14-0? Was it in the wristbands for Spencer Rattler to toss a pick six in the first quarter? Was it in the wristbands for Spencer Rattler to also throw a horrible interception inside Clemson's 5-yard line, negating a chance to score? Was it also in the wristbands that Dabo Swinney or whoever was going to call a rogue hillbilly circle jerk play on a kickoff return? If you don't know what I'm talking about the play where Will Shipley fielded the ball, sprinted up to about the 20-yard line, got in a big huddle with all his teammates. They sat there and beat off for a minute. Then he hands it off to Phil Mufa, who takes off and immediately fumbles the ball as soon as someone looks his way, which is not surprising this year if we've noticed that Phil Mufa, Cade Klubnik, and the entire Clemson offense are fumbling machines. So we've got that. So was it also in the wristbands for Antonio Williams to fumble a punt inside 2 minutes left in the ball game, which would have given Clemson excellent field position and a chance to kick a game-winning field goal? No, none of that was on the wristbands. That doesn't add up at all. I don't see how you're even throwing that game even in a conversation. But anyway, that's about all I got to say about that. I've exhausted enough. I've spoken my piece on that deal. Now we're just going to let it play out and see what happens. They're going to investigate. I personally don't think that anything's going to happen to South Carolina for any of this. I do think that Michigan's probably going to get fried. I think Jim Harbaugh is probably going to end up going down, and this will probably be the last year you see him in the old maize and blue. And if it all turns out that this was his idea, and I mean, you know what? I mean, shame on him. You know, I mean, not only is he a head coach of a Power 5 program, a legendary elite Power 5 program, a blue blood, if you will. That's why I hate that term, blue blood. We blue bloods up here at Tennessee. We blue bloods at Oklahoma. You're blue blood. You are what you are in the moment. You are what you are in the moment. Nobody cares what you did 50 years ago. Nobody cares about what any of these teams did 100 years ago. They really don't. And I'm also the guy who sits here and throws up to the Taters as they trail the overall series against Vanderbilt. Last game played in 1960, but that's all in good fun though, and I can poke fun at them. Nobody cares. It's what you're doing right now that's relevant, and everybody knows that shit. But also, shame on you if you did that, because that's your alma mater, dude. That's where you was a star quarterback. A lot of people, they didn't know this. South Carolina beat Michigan beat South Carolina's ass in 1985, 35-3. If anybody remembers, in 1984, South Carolina was coming off of a 10-2 season, which at one point they were ranked number 2 until they decided to go lose to Navy. But we had a really, really good team that year. And in 1985, we were returning a lot of the same players. We were, South Carolina was picked, I think, as like a top 5 team in 1985. And we went out, game number 1, we destroyed the Citadel. Yeah, it was back when we could beat them. Game number 2, we played Appalachian State. And that one was a little bit too close for comfort, I remember. But we beat them. Game number 3, Michigan came to Williams-Brice Stadium on a Saturday afternoon, and that game was televised on ABC, and I actually got to go to that game as a 10-year-old fan. They beat the shit out of us. They drug our ass. I had a running back named Jamie Morris who ran all over South Carolina, and I remember looking at my mom and dad, and I was like, well, I guess it's not 1984 anymore. Yeah, it sure wasn't. We ended that season up with a losing record. But anyway, who was the Michigan quarterback on that day? Jim Harbaugh. How sad that you that's your alma mater, and you kind of engineered this. If you did, that's just disgusting. Anyway, that's enough about that. Enough about Tennessee, and enough about everything, really. I'm going to get on down the road. I appreciate y'all listening. Long rant, long ramble. Probably a tough listen at some points in time here, but I think I've tried to make some good points. Anyway, I'll see you guys later on. I appreciate you watching. Hit the video with a thumbs up if you feel so inclined to, and subscribe to the Carolina Jackpot channel. And join me today for that live stream at 12 noon. Got a little bit of work to get done around the house, and then it's going to be football time for the Gamecocks. I will see you all later. Appreciate it. Peace, and I'm out of here. Go Gamecocks.